Oh my gosh. Hello. That's so cool.
All right, so we're doing Geo Notes 3-2. So let's start with the notation. It's kind of hard to see in this, and you'll see it in the homework, but I'm just going to rewrite it up here that this is T, and then it's just like, I don't know what you would call that symbol.
Alligator.
Okay, that's what that says. It's not quite an alligator because the inequality would be smaller. It's like a parenthesis, but it's like a weird shaped parenthesis. So that's what that says right there. So this isn't, it's kind of like an ordered pair. Okay. This is corresponding to the X. This is corresponding to the Y. It's telling us what it wants us to do to those points. Okay. Now, this graph got kind of weird because they had something else over here that was the answer to a previous problem. So I had to kind of cut that off. But this is telling me, what do you think this 6 is telling me to do to the X? Okay.
No, move it over 6.
Move it over 6. And this is telling me to do what to the Y?
Move it over and move it down.
Okay. Yes, so let's be careful. This is a positive, so we're adding 6. This is a negative, so we're going to subtract 7. So I think it might be in our best interest if we identify these points. So F here is -1, 5. This is E is -5, 4. Thank you. And then G is -2, -1. Okay. So basically, we're going to rewrite this shape with adding 6 or subtracting 6. 7. Thank you. So this point here would become, so F prime, I don't know, let's just write them down here. F prime is 5, -2. G prime would become
4.
and E prime 1, -3. Okay.
That makes sense though. I was confused yesterday. Now this.
Because you started it last night?
No, not this. Like the 3.1 has -3 and stuff. I was confused what to do. Now I do.
Okay, good. All right, so all I got to do is plot these 3 points and connect the dots, and we'll be done. So unfortunately, we have to kind of sketch this out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to be in our best interest to make these pretty accurate. So -5, 2. So there's my F prime. G prime is 4, -8. So there's 6, 7, 8. Just do your best to get it kind of where it should be. And then 1, -3 is my E prime. And then if I connect those dots, some of you may feel like you need a straight edge, so it's beautiful. I'm okay with it not being completely perfect.
My old math teacher showed me a straight, like you touch the dots and draw lines, and that gets.
Touch one dot and then where you're going.
Touch the dot, and then you draw the line. It's straight.
I can
Bizarre.
try that now.
All right, so there's E prime for A. So let's go ahead and just put a little A in there. Because they're going to now, I don't like the fact that they use the same notation. I wish they would have called this, I don't know, double prime or something. Okay. One thing I want you to notice is in the translation, it is rigid, but it's also reflection. It kind of goes backwards. This one, it's still the same way. So if these were words, if this image was a word, you would still be able to read it, and it would still be straight in a translation. In a reflection, it would go backwards, okay, or be reflected. So the next one. So for B, I'm going to put A there. I'm going to put B here. We have the same ordered pair, F prime, G prime, E prime, but for B, the movement tells me to do what?
11 and 2.
Add 11, add 2. So if I add 11 to F prime, 10, comma, 7. Was that a question, Dalton?
Yes, it was.
What would you say?
I'm confused.
So see right here, this is the direction of the translation. So a positive 11 in the X spot means add 11 to X. And a positive 2 in the Y spot means add 2.
How do we know that?
So we're starting over, so it's our original shape.
Then F would be positive 5, negative 2.
So F would be F prime.
Negative 2, positive 5.
Negative 1.
Which one are you doing?
Yeah, negative 1 and positive 5. All right, I see how you do it now. I'm just saying.
Okay. G is what? 9, 1. And E is?
Why do we name it
6, 6.
Why do we name it what?
A?
Why did I name this A? Because this is question A.
Oh.
And ideally, we would have had a new graph for question B, okay, and just kind of completely started over. And now looking at this is going to be way off our graph, isn't it?
Yeah.
So let's just know that that's the answer, and are we okay to just say we know we could graph that and it would look the same? It would just be a translation. Okay. If you could just grab this shape, it would have been nice if we could just grab this shape and just move it. For this translation, I would have just said, move it to the right 6 and down 7. Okay, if I could have done that. All right, so this is the map telling us how to move. Now they're going to go backwards. They're going to say, here's the movement. What was the map? So it's translation of, okay, she says 5, 2. T means what? Translation. If I put an R there, that would mean what? Reflection. If I put a reflection 5, 2, you would go, you made a mistake. I don't know what that means. It would be reflection across x-axis, reflection across y equals x, reflection across, and it would be a line. Okay, how do we get T 5, 2? So here's our starting P. Here's our P prime. So the question is, how did we get there? Translations are move there and then move there. Okay, so on the X, we went plus 5. That's plus. We went in the plus direction. And then plus 2. Okay. Now, if I change where the primes were, if I had made this P and this P prime, then they would have been both negative. Okay.
Yeah.
Do I need to say that again?
Yeah, say it again.
If this was P and this was P prime,
It'd be -5, 2.
it'd be -5, -2. Okay. All right. This is called a composition, and I think you probably saw these in Algebra 1. Okay. So I'm going to show you what that looked like in Algebra 1. Did you ever see F of G of X? Did you ever see those? I'm not sure if that's.
F of X and F of G.
Yeah.
G of X. But not
like
not
F of G of X.
We saw like these long
Did you ever see these?
Oh, I love Yeah. I love those.
So what?
It was like,
I hate those.
that was really annoying. Yeah.
All right. So kids, am I right? Yeah.
Yes, we did.
All right. So this notation right here is the same as this notation. And just so we're clear, this little dot here, it's like a multiplication sign, but it's hollow and it's a little bit bigger. Did you guys ever see these?
No.
Okay. You will see these in Algebra 2, but this means the same as this. So you'll notice right here in your notes, and it might be hard to see on my screen, but on your notes you can see it, that they use that little dot. Okay? Now here's the key. This is the most important thing when it comes to this. That the thing that is closest, it says to ABC, that we go kind of backwards. So that would be our first thing we would do. And then this would be the second thing we do. Okay? So it's important that you know that order. And if there was another, if I added another thing, I could do this, another translation, then that would be the third thing we do. You go from as close to the object as and backwards. Okay? Like in this notation, what was first in this one? G of x was first, and then f was second. So in this is the same notation. This is first, and this is what you do second. Okay? It can mess you up. If I translate and then reflect, if I do it in the wrong order, it's not going to always give you the same results. Sometimes it works out. Sometimes you'll get lucky, but you got to know that this is first, second, third. You kind of start at the object and move backwards. Yes?
Why can't we just use like a period for the multiplication sign, and then why do we need a circle?
We in this notation and in this notation, so if I did f times g of x, that literally means times f times g. So whatever you get as your answer, you multiply them.
Yeah, but why does it matter if we use that for multiplication?
Because they're two different things. That's like saying, why don't you just put a stop sign instead of a, or why don't you put a 65-mile-per-hour sign instead of a crosswalk sign? Okay. So if you put 65 miles per hour instead of a crosswalk sign, you're going to get some squished kids.
So like the same thing is how like the one with the circle and then the one with the dot.
This means multiply. This means composition. That's an Algebra 2 question, which I would love to answer after notes. Okay? It's actually an Algebra 1, Algebra 2 question. I just want to make sure we get through these notes. And then I will explain it until you don't want me to explain anymore. So transformations don't really care how you do them. So this is a dance move, okay? We all know that when you do dancing, you do it on a checkerboard.
Yeah, man.
Okay? So it says it moved from A to B, and then it moved from B to C. Okay? Now, it doesn't make sense when we're talking about dancing. Well, couldn't you just go from here to here? Okay? It would be like me dancing with my wife, and I say, you know what? You do those moves, and I'll just meet you over there. Okay? Doesn't make sense. But if you're actually moving something, it would make sense that you want to go the easiest direction. Okay? So it says, how could we describe what we're doing here in these movements? Well, first of all, part of the problem is that there's no x, y on this, but we can just kind of consider there being an x and a y. I think that'll help us in our thinking.
Not like they can move negative space. Like they can
You
move
could.
No, I'm saying like they can't move a negative line.
So here's the thing about, you're correct, you can't move in a negative length, but transformations include, the negative means direction. So you could have negative transformations because it means to move backwards. Okay? So basically they want us to talk about how could we just define what A and C is. So it's a transformation, so I'm going to put a T. And if it's my X moved how many spaces? 1, 2, 3. And what direction would we call that? We would call that positive, so I don't have to put a sign. And then it moved from here I moved up 1, which we would call what? Positive 1. So there's that answer. Pretty simple once you understand what it's asking. So just to point out, and transformation, it does not, you're allowed to mix up the order, okay? So if I said move here, or if I said to move here first and then there, that would still get you to the same spot, okay? I think you guys are gonna find these really simple. So what is the composition of the transformation written as one transformation? So we're just going to rewrite this as 1. Someone tell me what you think the AX is. Yes, I'm listening.
I think
Okay. I think you're way overcomplicating this. Okay. You just add them. So I tell you to move 3 in the X direction, and I say, just kidding, move 1 more. That's 4. I tell you to move -2 in the Y direction, just kidding, move -1 more. Okay. Is that what you said? Did I misunderstand you?
He said like 2 and 5.
Yeah, you were definitely overcomplicating it. Okay. So it tells you to move, and then I say, just kidding, move more. So here I tell you to move -4, just kidding, move 2 more. Super simple, -6.
I thought that was where it ended up. No, stop confusing me. Stop confusing me. This is easy for one. Stop.
This is kind of funny. What if I had
These are really hard, so Manny has to deal with it.
And -2. I mean 2.
say it one more time?
If you add both of them together, I just combined both those together. Yeah.
So we got to make sure that we understand that's an X movement and that's a Y movement. That's the X movement, that's the Y movement. So we're going to group our X's together to get -6, group our Y's together to get 5. So ask your question again.
Both A and B together? Yeah. Like, no, at once. But you could. Yeah, you could.
You could do a lot of things, but that's not what it wants. I like that. All right, so
The van.
I had this, all of a sudden I have this vision because they're talking about dance moves. What if we changed what if I asked you to create transitions of for dance moves?
No.
Okay. And it would be kind of weird because I guess you'd have to put something for the left leg and the right leg. But I like this one because anytime somebody asks, I was helping somebody this summer move a boat lift. Do you know what a boat lift is? It is. And how light do you think a boat lift is?
Not like.
It's heavy.
That's a huge motor.
And I don't know how many times she said, move it this way. And I'd move it. And she'd go, you know what, actually, can you move it? Yeah, okay. And you know what? I mean, and this thing's not light. So she kept going like this to me. And I kept thinking, do it one more time and we'll see what happens. Okay. So this one didn't do this, but it's like move 5 and then move. Let's just answer what this would be. Yes. This one right here?
Yeah.
I made it up.
Oh, yeah. I keep thinking that bubble is an angle.
Like a degree symbol?
Yeah.
So just so you know, so if I did a 5 degrees, it'd be like that. Oh, it's not on the screen. That's 5 degrees. Okay, and then F of G, that symbol is kind of like hanging, it's a little bit lower. And I think that I've kind of put that in the right spot. It'd be a little higher if it was a degree. 2, -2. So this was the woman this summer. She said, move it this way, then move it that way. So it's kind of going back and forth. All right, so I had this like big piece of wood that I would wedge underneath it, and then so I didn't have much control of it. I would just lift it as hard as I could, and it would move like an inch. So, yeah, actually could go back. Yeah. We're all gonna, let's all show up to our house and, okay. Okay, so last question we're gonna do. So I think it's going to be easiest for us to go ahead. So suppose n is a line where the equation is y equals 1. So I'm going to go ahead and just gently sketch y equals 1. And given DEF is these vertices, I'm going to go ahead and plot those points.
Oh my God.
And then, yeah, so we have this little right triangle. And then, what is the translation image if we do this composition? So now, what do we notice? Oh, this is interesting. Okay, so then also the x-axis. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So our rule said that these two lines, what's the distance between these two lines? 1. So the distance between those two lines is 1. Therefore, the thing's going to move how much? It's going to move twice that, 2. Okay? So we could do the double reflection, or we could just kind of figure out where it's going to move. I don't particularly like that it's on top of itself. So I would need a second color to kind of give this fair representation. We could do this 2 different ways. We could actually just do the reflections, okay, and see where it ends up, and then we could see how it moved to, or we could just move it to. I want to point out, though, that this says to reflect across the x-axis first, okay? It's really important that we understand that this is the first thing we're going to do. This would be the second thing we're doing. Okay, let's just try it. So let's reflect across the x-axis. And I know I should have made this a little bit smaller for you. Just kidding. It's really small. But we reflect it across the x-axis, it would be there in pink. And then if I reflect it across oh, did I do that right? Yeah.
I don't understand how to do that.
Me neither. Why did you do that? It's like, why did you choose?
Say it again.
Oh, okay. I just thought that the one looked small.
Yeah. Okay, so
I get it, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I wish our graph was twice as big at least. Okay, so my red is my initial shape. Okay, and then I reflected it across here, across the x-axis, and then I reflected across y equals 1. So it was 1 space away from that, so it was 1 space away there. Had I just followed the rule of the transformation that said because this is 1 between the lines, then I can move it 2. Okay. The only question I have, and maybe you can answer this, is how do you know which way to move it? But I guess you can kind of visualize that we get flipped here and then flip there. I think had we,
It didn't say flip negative in, it just said flip in.
negative end, why is that important?
Because it was said reflect negative in, you flip down, right?
No, reflections just always flip. So
you could have flipped down again.
Flip to the other
Wait,
side.
why is yours the blue one?
the blue one's not, it's just drawn poorly, I think.
Oh.
Isn't it 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not, it should be
Yeah.
to here. Okay. But we can see that that space is 2 there. Yeah.
And I go like, I do.
So, how do we know which direction it moves?
Would it make sense to have 3 reflections going down? No.
You could have, so this rule says if you have 2 reflections that are parallel lines, the distance between them is how far could be described as a transformation twice that distance.
So they won't cut, so you wouldn't need to go up the triangle.
So if those 2 lines in between, then it would go 4 lines up.
And what would have been really cool is if I had the time or the knowledge on the Desmos, if we could move these lines and we could see how that 2 apart would make this go up 4. Yeah. The only thing is, I think I still have to think about, and maybe one of you can figure out what, but if we're here, I still have to think about it reflecting twice to figure out which direction it would go. Okay? I think it's going to order, the order of this is going to make that difference of which direction it goes. If I would have flipped across Y first, it would have been here, and then I would have flipped across this, it would have flipped down. Okay? Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's say that again.
Yeah.
If I switch these orders, then it would be down, but it doesn't, I'm not sure how to indicate. I know that this is going to be, this is 1, this is going to be 2, but
So if you switch the orders, the first one would be down, and then the second one would be up. And then
no, if I switch the order, it'd be down. Well, yeah, I guess it'd be down.
Yeah, up and then down.
Sure.
Yes, yeah.
So the homework for this is on online. The show up last night. Tomorrow's the work day. Tomorrow's Friday. Yeah.
Tomorrow's Friday?
So just to clarify, then that means if you look at our chapter 3 sheet, Sunday, we have 4 things that you have to do. Maybe you want to do 5. The enrichment seems, people seem to like the enrichment on this one, because you have time. Okay. Anyone have questions about what would be due on Sunday? We're starting to figure out this
So
pattern.
only 2, only 1.
Yeah, so 3-1 has 2 things, 3-2 has 2 things, unless you don't do well with quiz. You could do the 3-1 enrichment. I'm also going to give you guys whatever I think it's 3-7 review. So that if you want to start looking at that.
3-7?
Yeah.
3-5.
Like mixed review.
Mixed review, because it's mixed over everything from last year.
But.
So there'll be some things you shouldn't be able to do yet, but yes.
No.
Why would we have a test Monday?
Because we usually have a test Monday.
Yes, so we have a test Monday over chapter 3. Yes.
No, because we've only done 1. You guys are not smart. I feel
Usually.
I feel like
There's
I'm
5 things in the chapter.
Can I use the rest of your?
It's the phone.
Well, Monday we'll have a section. I should be.
Yeah, and like do it like.
Yes.
Monday we'll have a section. Tuesday we work day.
You don't know any Katy Perry songs?
Friday. I don't know if I'll give it. No.
Better
Be
be.
nice.
But you guys don't, you guys have
Nicole.
figured this out.
It's
Some of you have come in and have the work done.
Yeah, that's because you guys like.
I was like, oh, that's funny.
We had a lot of days
Seven.
here.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
funny.
last week was easy.
I'm
Yeah,
talking
this
yesterday.
week is
Somebody came in
Why did
yesterday.
you do it online?
Don't do a lot.
Nicknames.
Nicknames, right, yeah, I did this, 3 questions.
What?
I submitted my president, I actually got it there. And I
No, I was just
don't know how to finish because
I was like, talking about
I don't know how to like.
stop.
If for some odd reason you would want to watch these notes again, they are online. Okay? If you're ever absent, that's what I would expect you to do.
I don't even know this. I'm not gonna